The day after Major General Johann von Roby, Baron de Kalb, and his entourage of officers crossed from Virginia into North Carolina, he found time to write to his wife in Paris. "Here I am at last, considerably south," he wrote, "suffering from intolerable heat, the worst of quarters, and the most voracious of insects of every hue and form." It was mid-June, 1780, and de Kalb's men, well-trained veterans from Delaware and Maryland, had sweated their way through swamps and pine forests before making camp outside Goshen, a town that cannot today be located on a map. They would pass the night at other long-forgotten settlements as they headed toward Charlestown, hoping to reinforce the garrison there, and if they were too late for that, to defend the rest of the South, as the British sought to bring the entire region under their control. The war by this time had dragged on for years, without either the British or the Americans being able to defeat the other and bring it to a close. The first shots had been exchanged at Lexington and Concord more than 7 years before. All the great events later generations would teach their children about, the Battle of Bunker Hill, Washington's crossing the Delaware, the victory at Saratoga, the winter at Valley Forge, where de Kalb had suffered with the others, had come and gone, with still no end in sight. The last battle in the North, the inconclusive clash at Monmouth, took place in June 1778, exactly 2 years earlier. After that, not much had happened, and the cause of independence seemed to have stalled. The British still held New York and Philadelphia, and in the South, when de Kalb had arrived, they were moving on the port at Charlestown. Starting a war, a cynic might say, was easy. Ending a war, actually winning one, was another matter. If this war was to be brought to a successful conclusion, it would be in the South, and General George Washington, back in New Jersey, hoped that de Kalb could be of more use there than in the North. This trek to the Carolinas was hard-going, even for young men born and raised in the mid-Atlantic colonies. For de Kalb, who was 58 years old and had grown up in Bavaria and spent most of his life in Northern Europe, summer in the American South presented daunting challenges. This old campaigner had known nights in rough barracks and drafty tents and on cold ground, but he had experienced nothing like the insects that hummed and buzzed and bit morning, noon, and night. This was something that his wife, ensconced with their 3 small children in an elegant townhouse in Paris, could only imagine. "The most disagreeable of these," he told his wife, "is what is commonly called the tick, a kind of strong black flea which makes its way under the skin and by its bite produces the most painful irritation and inflammation which lasts a number of days." His body was covered with these stings, which Southerners to this day know not as ticks, but chiggers. It would not get any easier for any of the men, especially those accustomed to the cooler weather of England and Northern Europe, as they made their way deeper into the swampy lowlands along the southern coast. There, as the British commander at Savannah told Lord Charles Cornwallis, the heat was beyond anything you can conceive. Malaria, smallpox, typhus, dysentery, and what were called malignant fevers, putrid fevers, and bilious fevers would spread through their camps, killing officers and men. This made it the height of madness and folly, another British officer said, to do much fighting during the summer months. Diseases would sweep through the prison ships and the filthy encampments, and before long, the men were carrying the deadly microbes with them wherever they went. De Kalb had arrived in early summer, when the temperatures were rising, and with them, disease.